As it is, the government is already very pervasive and they wield a lot of power just by doing their traditional functions, their legitimate roles, external defense, the armed forces, uh, internal security, the police, the SCDF, ambulance, fire engines, uh, the infrastructure, the roads, the railway, airports, seaports, sewage management, and of course, providing us with basic necessities like water, electricity, bus, train, public housing, education, healthcare, and pension. Just by doing that, they are immense. Adding any more power to that is evil. However, it is also deeply involved in business through Temasek, NTUC, GIC. The government has links in businesses like supermarkets, food courts, food catering, airline, shipping, hotel, banking, insurance, investment, construction, media, MRT, bus, taxi, ride hailing, driving schools, school bus, and many others. So, and domestic link companies, they make up a significant portion of SGX, stock exchange. And NTUC, via its social enterprise, is a ubiquitous name in the heartlands. So, because they are so huge, it forces people to think and behave in a certain way. Also, there are institutions that breed conformity in Singapore. With few exceptions, we go through the government schools, primary school, all the way to tertiary. Even kindergarten, actually. Now they have PAP kindergarten. And all males go through national service. We read the same things, therefore, we are imbued with the same culture and values, and we are taught to think in the same way and go through the same disciplinary process. And the majority of Singaporeans, we stay in HDB flats, so we are subjected to the same rules and live in similar surroundings. And all the labor unions, they don't think differently. They think alike because they are all controlled by the government via the NTUC. So given the sheer presence of the government, people will be conditioned to think like the government. And another factor that compels us to think in a certain way is public opinion. It is really powerful, even more powerful than the sheer presence of the government in conditioning thinking and limiting individualism. Generally speaking, public opinion is the collective mindset or outlook of a large segment of people, and in some cases, almost the whole population. It is very powerful because most people will unwittingly judge with their opinion as the yardstick other people's behavior and speech and tacitly forcing them to conform. So, for example, if more than half the population holds the opinion that those who don't wear mask outdoor during COVID are inconsiderate, the remainder will soon succumb to the social pressure and will follow, except for some hardcore individuals. Of course, public opinion is also a force for good because it keeps people within the norms of acceptable behavior, thereby maintaining public peace. Although what is acceptable behavior or whether it is beneficial, whether for the person or society, is subjective. Historical, cultural, and political factors, which differ from country to country, shape public opinion. In Singapore, the government has a monopoly over public opinion. There isn't a Free Press Act in Singapore. There are two mainstream media companies, SPH Media and MediaCorp, and both are de facto owned by the government and supported by taxpayers. And being the only mainstream media. They decide what the public should read and frame the boundaries for debate. There are no alternative mainstream media. If anyone wants to have a different perspective, he or she will have to look up alternative media on the internet. And those alternative medias that do not share the government point of view, like the online citizen, have had their source of income curtailed and have been profmarked and are portrayed negatively in the mainstream media. There's no Freedom of Information Act, unlike many other democracies. So there is a lack of transparency and accountability, making it difficult to check on the government. And although Article 14 of the Constitution of Singapore guarantees and protects Singaporeans' right to freedom of speech, expression, and peaceful assembly, they are subjected to broad restrictions such as security, public order, and morality. So that in practice, the latitude for such freedom is very narrow. And people who oppose the government have been sued or profmarked. So people are really wary to share their opinions in public. Anyone who infringes on the above laws and restrictions, of course, will face consequences. But it is not the punishment that is the most odious, but rather the stigma that comes with it. Because the mainstream media will portray them negatively and in this way serve as a more powerful force than the punishment itself to shape public opinion. So given the scenario that I have just painted, how do people adapt? People in Singapore adapt. The unthinking and the meek who form the majority will look to the government for every improvement in life and blame it for every deprovement. And sadly for them, they usually draw the short end of the stick in life and will blame everyone and everything except themselves. And sometimes they tend to defend the government too. I don't know why, despite being done in. And then the thoughtful and meek, like me, who are a minority, will take care not to openly express their opinions when they are contrary to mainstream opinions, and certainly not act them out. The thoughtful and bold, who are an even rarer breed, become opposition politicians. They get marginalized, get pothmarked, but society should be thankful to them because they keep reminding the government that they do not own the truth, that there needs to be a free contest of ideas to be closer to the truth and hopefully eventually the whole truth. For little good will materialize pursuing a policy based on a half truth or worse, an untruth. And then finally, there's the last category of people, how they adapt to overwhelming governance and public opinion pressure. The ambitious and the practical people, of whom there are many, they will ingratiate, tripod themselves with the powers that be. And they tend to feel self-righteous and morally superior. So the consequences of this is that let me talk about the consequences, okay, of lack of freedom of expression, speech, and lack of diversity. In 1994, Nobel Laureate for Economics Paul Krugman famously said in his article, "The Myths of the Asian Miracles," that there is nothing inspirational about Singapore's economy. It is just very good at mobilizing and employing resources, period. And when that is done, we will get into trouble. And since then, we have only grown by financialization, privatization, and increasing the population. And our dilemma is not because Singaporeans are poor stock, but because we have been conditioned in such a way that our range of thoughts have become rather narrow and our individualism curtailed since birth. And Elon Musk is right. Is right. Born and bred Singaporeans could be extinct soon. Not only can we not compete, we are not reproducing sufficiently. Firstly, it is very expensive to bring up a baby, but also equally important. Why bring a life into the world where it can't be who it wants to be, where its mind is controlled? And humans are different from animals in that we can think, form ideas, make elaborate plans, and form opinions. And all this we articulate by speech. Taking away its freedom to think and form opinions is taking away the very essence of its life. And it is a major but often ignored reason why Singapore has a very high suicide rate. Of course, the other reasons probably are the high cost of living and stress, living in a very crowded and in that sense competitive place. So what is the remedy for us before we become extinct? Basically, we need to bring back freedom and diversity for individualism to thrive. We should not agree to government encroachment into public space. For example, MOE is in the midst of replacing all canteen stallholders with a couple of big caterers, with possibly at least one linked to the government. Why do they want to do that? I mean, the individual stallholders, some from school. I mean, we have a personal. I mean, we like each other. You know, the food they serve is good, um, and we can make special arrangements with them when we stay back after school. We can tell them, "Can you cook this special for us, or cook that special for a few teachers?" And they'll do that. Of course, you know, you manage school canteen operators. There's bound to be problems. There's bound to be one or two stallholders who stop operating after a few years, and it's part of the school's job to look for another operator. So after so many years, the government says that, oh, you know, this is not very good, so we want to change it to big caterer, probably sets. Sets is government link, and so the presence of the government, the pervasiveness of the government is going to be increased. So we should say no to such things. And the town councils, they should be run by residents. They should be broken down into smaller units, maybe one mini town council managing 5 to 10 blocks, run by elected non-partisan residents. Why run by a big town council that is managed by the ruling party? Primary and secondary schools should be run by philanthropic Singaporeans instead of the government, because that will lead to conformity of thinking. Different Singaporeans who are very interested in education, they can run the schools. And of course, the government has to subsidize that, because in Singapore, education should be free or non expensive. The labor unions should be headed by workers, not ruling party. And we need oppositions like Meng Sing to fight for us for the Freedom of Press Act, so that the public will be exposed to different points of views, not just the government's. And we need to fight for the Freedom of Information Act, so that there will be accountability and transparency, thus breaking the chains of control. And all of us need to speak up to expose half-truths and untruths, as darkness will vanish in the presence of light. And if more people follow suit, the floodgates will have to eventually open. And finally, we need to vote for more alternative voices in parliament, so that there will be different opinions and diversity. And I spoke about the tree. and this is the tree below my house. Uh, it was smaller than, like I said, there was a bigger tree on its left. And when the bigger tree was removed, the left half of this tree, it wasn't there. But now it's nicely from that left half there. It wasn't there. It was deformed. But after a few years, it is now complete. It's a nice, almost perfect tree. But it wouldn't have known that it was deformed. Just like us, we have been, I wouldn't say it was blocked in a way. Certain part of our mental faculty has not been exposed. So we wouldn't know we are deformed. And after we are showered with, if we can speak and think and express what we want, we can become a lot more balanced like this tree. So likewise, we should cut down the tree that is blocking our sunlight so that we will be the best that we can be. And in that sense, perfect. Thank you.